Hello, everyone. I wanted to go through and look a little bit about how to evaluate the evidence that you collected. So, in a previous video, I went through and demonstrated using some tools to do a lit search, and I found an article that I thought might be interesting to our problem of electronic call light optimization. So, this was an article that I found that was published in 2023, and let's just look through the abstract. So, electronic call light systems provide an important information and coordination instrument for patient care in the clinical setting. Subjective impressions and impacts on communication and work processes of nursing staff can contribute to a sustainable optimization of concepts. Studies have not yet been conducted on this topic in Austria. The main objective was to assess subjective attitudes and perceptions as well as emotional reactions of nurses towards an existing call light system. Connections with skill and grade mix should be demonstrated in order to comprehensively record the effects on nursing communication, work processes, and financial impacts in everyday ward life. For this study, a mixed methods approach was used. The present study was conducted in an Austrian hospital. Nurses for interviews were recruited by using information leaflets. The ward for the open, unstructured participant observation was chosen by the nursing director. Inclusion criteria for the interviews refer to the willingness of nurses to participate in the study on a voluntary basis and a good knowledge of German or English. A total of 7 short interviews with nurses and 129 observational units were conducted. None of the nurses dropped out. Ward and staff related key figures characteristics were provided by the nursing management. Emotional reactions of nurses and time measurements, distance covered, duration of activity after activation of call light were recorded during observations. Subjective impressions were obtained by using structured short interviews. The study took place between June and August 2020. Data analysis of the interviews was carried out by using MaxQDA. That's a qualitative analysis software. Results of the observations were transferred to Excel spreadsheets and analyzed in accordance with legal requirements in Austria. Structural, technical, and financial backlogs can be identified from the results. The existing call light system concept was proven to have a negative impact on the quality of care, job satisfaction of nursing staff, and hospital financing. In future, further studies needed to provide a more detailed analysis of the individual findings. This also implies integrating nurse managers and patients as target groups. So, I have put some links in here to how to assess literature. So we're using the Johns Hopkins model, and these tools were created by Johns Hopkins. So this first link right here, how to conduct a rapid critical appraisal, gives you a really quick and dirty way to decide is an article worth looking at. So I would suggest that you go ahead and read through this article. It's short, it's online, and a rapid critical appraisal checklist. Are the results of the study valid? They seem to have valid results. They seem to have some methodology, so I think valid enough for what we're looking for. What were the results? Are they important? They found that there was some frustration with the call light system. We didn't see any specific numbers yet. And do the results provide an answer to my PICO question? And these were looking at call light systems and a study about the call light system, so I think it's relevant to my situation. And you'll notice that we're talking about an informatics problem, not a patient, but I think we can extrapolate to what we're trying to do. So for my critical appraisal, I think it's worth looking at this article a little more closely. So then there's a couple of appraisal tools here, and we have a research appraisal tool and a non-research appraisal tool. And they called it a study, they called it mixed methods, so I'm going to go with the research appraisal tool. And if I open that up, research appraisal tool, it's going to be a Word document if you download it, and let's just take a peek at it. And this document is a few pages, and I think what I would recommend to you guys is to go ahead and just use one of these documents for each of your literature items or your articles that you download. If you go ahead and fill it out, yeah, it's going to take a few minutes. After you do a couple of these, it's going to go pretty fast. And that way, if you have any questions, evaluate each of your articles and just save this in a folder somewhere. And so you'll have one of these pages for each of your articles. I would suggest just doing it. It's not that bad. So does this answer the clinical question? And you can write whatever your question was up here. What research has been done about call light optimization? I think that would be good enough. And does it answer it? And yes, this is giving us useful information about our. It wasn't necessarily the solution, but it did look at call lights in general, and I think that's probably going to be relevant enough to include in our study. So we can have the article title, author, publication date. That's all pretty easy to get right there from the abstract. Evidence level and quality rating. So we need to go through and figure out, was this quantitative or qualitative? And they told us in the abstract that this was mixed methods. So that's pretty easy. We're down here on the third item, mixed methods. And there's going to be a quantitative part, section 1A. Section 1B, a quantitative appraisal. And section 2A, qualitative. 2B, qualitative. And 3, mixed methods. So you'll need to appraise both parts of this study independently before appraising the study as a whole. So basically, go through and look at the quantitative part and the qualitative part and appraise each section. So let's just take a peek at the quantitative part really quick. And was there a control group? Was there, and just from reading the abstract, it doesn't sound like there was a control group. So I'm going to call it probably non-experimental. You need to skim through the article more closely to double check. Were there randomly assigned? So we would be here on level 3, non-experimental. If there had been a control group, and then they would say it was a random assignment, and you would have yes or no, and you'd be able to assign one of those. So out of the level, we already know we're going to be a level 3 on our level. And there is an evidence level and quality guide inside, a link to that, and I do have it here in my downloads. And let's just open that up and take a peek at it, make this a little bigger. And we can see what's level 1, 2, and 3, a non-experimental study. And now we need to figure out, is it high quality, good quality, or low quality with major flaws? Consistent generalizable results, sufficient sample size for the study design, adequate control. They had a number of observations, reasonably consistent results, sufficient sample size for the study design, some control, and little evidence with inconsistent results, insufficient sample size. So this is where you have to make a judgment call. I would probably, just from my reading of the abstract right now, I'd probably lean towards a level 3B for the quality. It's probably reasonably consistent. I don't think it was randomized, so I would have to skim the article a little more closely. I'm not going to do that here with you guys in the video, but right off the bat, I'd probably give it a 3B if I was assessing this article. And let me get back to the research appraisal tool. If we went with the qualitative part, clearly identifiable and purpose, research question, justification, and you could go through and look at this um, and look at that. So we'd get a rating. So we're going to probably be, you know, what they were describing so far. Again, I'd probably lean towards a B unless I saw something that would maybe rate it higher or lower. And I do know from um, 4 and 5. So I'd probably go with the 3B on that. Again, you know, you can read through it. If you really have a question, ask your fellow students, ask your professors, and you can look at that. But it doesn't take too long to read through that, you know, and give it a rating, and use these tools that we have linked here, and that will at least let you complete your ratings for level and quality, and you know, you'll have a good idea what's worth including, what may not be. But I hope going through that a little bit helps you guys see how to assess this, and you'll need to obviously read through your article more closely, and you know, after you read through this, and then go through and you can read the article more closely, and then pick out, you know, what are the parts of this that are really relevant to your paper. And I personally would probably go ahead and just put it into a spreadsheet, and the parts that I thought, you know, were relevant, you know, I'd list, you know, maybe copy the text into the spreadsheet that I thought was relevant, and then put what section you're working on, and this would be available knowledge, or if it's some other section of the paper, and then you can come back to it later, and this lets you gather the text and the evidence that you want to really mention and highlight in your paper. So just a kind of a quick demo of evaluating the evidence, and I'll talk to you guys later.